38-year-old Michael DiPolito decided to look for an escort for the night while his wife was out of town. 35 minutes after calling a service that night, 26-year-old Dalia Muhammad came a-knocking on married Michael's front door. I'm not quite sure what magic Dalia had, but only 2 weeks after that first service, Michael DiPolito filed for divorce from his wife after 7 years of marriage and immediately proposed to Dalia with a $20,000 engagement ring.
Oh my gosh, okay.
Yes. So Dalia obviously said yes, and the two got married 4 months later on February 2nd, 2009. Michael DiPolito's probation officer comes over unannounced for the first time ever. Michael had actually served 7 months in prison back in 2001 for a fraud operation and was given 28 years probation. But this was the first time his probation officer...
28 years probation?
Yes, because he got out early.
Okay.
So that's what he was given. The probation officer and 2 detectives confronted Michael with the news that they had received multiple anonymous calls about Michael selling drugs from his home that he shared with Dalia. They searched the home and found nothing. The next weekend, Dalia and Michael went to a nice resort in Palm Beach for the weekend. And towards the end of the trip, Michael and Dalia woke up to police searching Michael's car in the parking lot, claiming they had received another anonymous call that he was dealing drugs out of his car. Once again, the cops search it and find nothing. 2 weeks later, Michael and Dalia finish their dinner at a fancy restaurant when they exit the restaurant and find police searching Michael's car in the parking lot again. This time, police discover an actual baggie of cocaine in the vehicle. It was inside a pack of cigarettes. And Michael pleaded with them, please, I'm being set up. This has happened 3 times. And because of all of the anonymous false accusations, the police actually decided to let him go.
Okay.
They were like, we believe you. We do think someone's trying to set you up. The next morning, Dalia broke the news to Michael that she was pregnant, and together this couple happily began planning for this next chapter of their life together. It was the summer of 2009 when Dalia and Michael woke up together for a typical day. Around 5:40 a.m., Dalia headed to the gym, and Michael got ready to walk the dogs. This is just like a couple months later. It was roughly an hour later when Dalia received an unexpected call at the gym from a sergeant with the Boynton Police Department asking her to return home immediately. Something had happened. Dalia rushed home and was astonished to see crime scene tape, news crews, and police surrounding her home. Dalia walks up to police and they tell her that they had responded to a call of shots fired at her home earlier that morning and her husband, Michael DiPolito, was dead.
No. Okay.
Police tell Dalia that Michael had been shot twice and it looked like he had answered the door and then was attacked. Now, all of this is awful, and Dalia is, distressed in the room. She's crying, she's sobbing, but the shocking twist comes when the police officer brings a man who is cuffed into the interrogation room with Dalia. And he asks her if she recognizes him, and she's like, no. And he says, well, this is the man we caught leaving your home after responding to the 911 calls. So they had caught someone.
Yeah, something seems fishy here.
So Dalia claims, I still don't know him, and so police escort him back out of the room. The next man they bring in to confront Dalia will turn this case on its head. The detective opens the door, and uncomfortably, in walks Michael DiPolito himself, alive and well.
I thought he was dead.
I did. The detectives tell Dalia to quit the act and quit the game. They know the truth, and so does everyone else, including her husband. They know that Dalia had hired a hitman to kill her husband that morning, and fortunately for Michael, the hitman she hired was an undercover cop.
What? No way. It's like she actually hired a hitman.
Yes.
What the heck?
He had actually confronted Dalia the 3rd time because no one else knew they were going to dinner that night. And so he's like, you were the only one that knew. So did you plant these drugs in my car? Dalia freaked out. She was driving the car. She began driving manically, going over 100 miles per hour. It was the next morning that Dalia lied to her husband and told him she was pregnant when she most definitely wasn't. And that same day that she told Michael she was pregnant, she texted her ex-boyfriend saying that she wanted to hook up with him and she missed him. So when she meets up with this ex-boyfriend, she asked him to pose as a lawyer to her new husband whom she hated and tell him that in order for him to get off probation, he would need to move his house solely into his wife's name. So the ex-boyfriend called Michael, posed as a lawyer, told him exactly that, and Michael did it for his pregnant wife. And Dahlia, after all this happened, never talked to that ex-boyfriend again.
What is going on? Okay.
Dahlia then contacted another ex-lover and asked him to hire a hitman to kill her current husband. Now that the house was in her name, she would be left the house and everything, but he needed to die. This new ex-lover said neither no or yes, but instead drove to the local police after meeting with Dahlia and told them Dahlia's intentions.
Whoa.
Hey, my ex-girlfriend just reached out to me and she asked me to hire a hitman.
That's one way to get back at an ex.
Police decide at this point in time that they would plant a camera in his car and have him meet back up with her and say yes. Dahlia gave him a picture of Michael, a picture of their house, and a $3,000 down payment all on camera in his car. Police decided to take the sting operation one step further and have Dahlia meet with the supposed hitman that her ex-lover had hired for her. Keep in mind, this hitman is a cop. He's going in undercover. So not even 6 months after the Dippolito marriage, Dahlia climbed into a parked car to converse with a hitman she had hired via her ex-lover. The supposed hitman was actually an undercover narcotics cop from the Boynton Police Department. I will now play some audio from the undercover camera that was hidden in the back seat of the car.
Hey. We're staying in here, right? All right, yeah. Okay. We're going to talk get some stuff out the way. All right, cool. I'm going to tell you how I'm going to do it and what exactly is going to be done. All right? And I don't know if you got recommendations, you know, what you want, what you know about him. Dude, is he your husband or something? Boyfriend? Your husband? How long have you been married? No, for real, because the thing is, you know, after I talked to you today, you know, this phone, garbage, you won't be able to get a hold of it. Okay, I just want to make sure that, you know, it's what you want. You sure you want to kill this dude?
Do we really have to?
All right.
You know, it's just, I'd rather be as less, you know, whatever with you.
All right.
So as you can tell from that audio, Dahlia is very unwilling to really say any words that equal complete condemnation. She's skidding around saying, I want to kill him. And the cop is trying to say, so do you really want to kill your husband? And she's like, I don't want to, like, you can tell she doesn't want to actually say the words just in case. So you can tell she was a little suspicious. They decide together that the plan would be that she would go to the gym early in the morning while Michael normally takes the dog for a walk. And then when Michael would come back to the house, the supposed hitman would strike while she's at the gym. So the morning of, Dahlia showed up to the gym at 5:40 a.m. And meanwhile, police showed up at Michael and Dahlia's home, knocked on the door and said, hi, Michael, we're the police and your wife is trying to kill you right now. She thinks that a hitman is coming to your house to kill you.
That's
so
crazy.
We need to take you out of the house to continue the sting operation.
Okay.
So they take Michael to the station. They set up the police, like the news cameras. They set up the crime scene tape, everything. Roughly 1 hour later, police would call Dahlia home from the gym and inform her of her husband's murder that had not, in fact, actually happened. Now, the news crews that were surrounding the house were actually there to document everything for police. So they were actually recording.
Wow.
And they recorded the whole entire scene once Dahlia arrived, and it's brutal to watch. It's uncomfortable because everyone there except her knows that her husband isn't actually dead inside, that he wasn't actually murdered.
And she's fake crying.
Yeah, and they know that she's the one that hired him and that she's completely acting right now. But it's so awkward. So we're going to play you some audio, and if you're on YouTube, you can watch the video.
Listen, we had a report of a disturbance at your house, and there were shots fired. Is your husband Michael? Okay, I'm sorry to tell you, man. He's been killed. He's been killed, man. I'm sorry. Listen, no. Try to calm down.
No.
Listen, right now we need to get you to the station. We need to get you to our police station. I can't let you in, man. We have to do our job. If you want us to find this killer, okay, we need you to calm down. I'm going to need you to go with these detectives.
So after bringing her into the station, they continued to stay in character. They even brought in the undercover cop in handcuffs who she thought was the hitman and said, hey, we caught him. Do you recognize him? And she's like, no. That's when she said, no, I don't recognize that man. Even though she literally met with him in a car and said, I'm 9,000% sure I want you to do this. And then obviously, like, you know, they break the news to her that it was all recorded and she's going to jail. They have everything she ever said about this. And she claims over and over, I didn't do anything. I didn't do that. I didn't do that. And they're like, no, Dahlia, like we have the footage. Here's the footage. I didn't do that.
She's in shock.
Like, she just is like, no, I didn't do that. They tell her to stop acting, that they have all of the evidence, and she still won't say anything, claiming she doesn't understand what's happening and that she didn't hire someone to kill her husband. The detective tells her, well, your husband is actually alive, obviously, and Michael is brought in around this point, and we will play the audio for you as he confronts her, as he walks into the room and says, hi, I'm alive. Why'd you try to kill me?
Oh my God.
Who's alive?
Come here, please. Come here. Mike, come here. Come here, please. Come here.
Can't fix it.
Why not? I didn't do anything
I
to
heard
you.
you.
Mike, come here, please. Come here.
So detectives feel like this case is open and shut. Obviously, like they have footage of absolutely everything. They have footage of her saying she's 9,000% sure she wants them to do it, giving money, giving a picture of Michael. Like they have everything. And they attempt to get a confession after this. They bring her back in, try to get a confession, but they aren't pushing it very hard because they just don't need to. They don't need a confession. Despite the effort and the evidence that she's confronted with, Dahlia will not confess and still denies everything. So she was taken to jail and given a phone call. And who do you think she calls?
The lawyer friend.
No, she calls Michael, who she just tried to kill. And Dahlia is straight up gaslighting Michael in this call. According to JCS, she tries to cultivate doubt into Michael's mind by making him question his own perception of what he knows.
Okay.
She's trying to use persistent denial and change the subject to destabilize his thought process. So basically in the call, she's like, hey, Michael, I need you to hire a lawyer for me. And he's like, I know that you just tried to kill me. And she's like, no, I didn't. And he's like, Dahlia, they showed me everything. They showed me footage of you literally saying that you want to kill me. Michael, they showed me the same thing and I didn't do it. It's like so frustrating to watch because you're just like, oh my gosh, you can't even argue with it. Like
there's nothing you can do.
Yes.
She's crazy.
Yes. And she's completely talking in circles, which you can't really argue with. It's typical narcissistic and sociopathic behavior. Dahlia would spend 20 months in jail before going to trial. The jury came back on May 13th with a guilty verdict.
Okay,
obviously,
good. I thought somehow she was going to be found not guilty and I was going to freak out.
No, because no jury is going to watch that undercover footage, have all of her ex-lovers come in and testify about what she made them do, and then believe her. Like they had so much evidence, so much incriminating evidence. She was sentenced to 16 years in prison without the possibility of parole.
So 16 years. Okay.
Her release date would be August 24th, 2032. And all of her appeals have been denied.